Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we're choosing. What I'm discussing today, and in this video, is leaving behind old timelines, right? I don't know if it's the renewal of the new year or people talking about new beginnings so much, but I'm really not a New Year's kind of goal type of person, right? Well, I do know our lives are segmented in years, and that's 364 and some odd, hours of the day or whatever, moments. 365, that's why we have the leap year to kind of bring it back and make up for that day. While I know that that is an actual thing, I don't like setting new goals and like waiting to achieve things when this new time comes around, right? I like to do things when inspired action hits me. And something I've been doing on my channel is making sure that I post something every single day. And so I didn't want to wait until January 1st to do that. And it didn't even cross my mind, but I thought about it as a couple of weeks had passed. I was like, oh, I guess this is what most people would do with a New Year's resolution. Go like, like every day but when it's time, it's time. When it's time to do something and time to take care of something, it's time. And that's just the way I think. So over the past few weeks, I've been having this theme in my head constantly rolling around called leaving old timelines behind, right? And I did a meditation to it, but I felt like the volume was too low. So I'm going to edit it and repost it or either redo it all together. But I was in the zone when I made it. And it happened to be when I ended it, it was exactly 4 minutes and 44 seconds. And I'm like, when does that happen? And so I felt like that was golden, but maybe the idea is just golden and I can redo the audio and it's perfectly okay for it not to be the first time that I did it, right? Because sometimes you're just in that zone. So leaving behind old timelines represents for me what people often refer to as a quantum leap, right? It's when you are like on a specific trajectory because of the decisions and the people and the places that you've been connected to, and you are going in this one direction. And what you've created in that moment is what's going to be what's developed over time for you, and it's heading that direction. To me, when you are leaving behind old timelines, it's when you've consciously made new decisions and new intentions and new actions that place you in a different space. And so that former trajectory is no longer a part of what you're doing. But the problem comes in is when we're leaving the old timelines behind is that we have these things called brains, right? And they hold a lot of memories. And because they hold a lot of memories, they tend to keep us stuck in some of the things that are attached to the old timelines, even though we're not even on that trajectory anymore. And the problem with that is that we hang on to those stories and those ideas or those people or that energy for too long, we can find ourselves making decisions that put us right back on the old trajectory when we were on the new timeline and didn't even know it, right? So at any given time, there are many trajectories that your life can take. I always feel like this. So if I decide to get up in the morning and say I want to make new videos for the week, that's going to put me on a different trajectory than if I got up in the morning and started gossiping about who's not doing what in my family or something with somebody in my family. It's like, that's a different trajectory, right? Or if I got up in the morning and said, let me exercise and get on my little walking pad. Or if I got up in the morning instead and was just like, let me eat this, 1,500 calorie breakfast and sit in the bed and watch TV. Those are two different trajectories. You know what I mean? And so for us to say that it doesn't make a difference sometimes, I think we're selling ourselves short with the power that we have to create and develop in our lives, right? While I believe in the ethereal when it comes to a lot of things that we're creating and producing, a lot of what we're experiencing is through this 3D avatar. And because of that, we have to cater to it to some degree. We can't just ignore the things that will make our lives better in different ways, right? And depending on, and if you see me looking down, it's just looking at notes. Depending on the decisions we make, like changing our point of attraction through prayer or meditation, taking action on a project, that can completely shift what our outcomes are, right? So if we meditate every day for like 2 weeks, we can completely feel the difference in our life and like the decisions that we want to make, as opposed to if we complained about life, consistently for an hour a day for 2 weeks, right? It changes how you approach life. It changes how you approach people. It changes the energy that you have when you go out into the world, right? I generally have very positive experiences when I go out into the world. I go to grocery stores, I'll go to like hardware stores, or, to run errands or to do anything. I generally have really positive experiences with the people. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was saying that everywhere she's been going, people have been being really positive with her, and she's been interacting with people and having a good time. And she's like, there must be something in the air. And I'm like, it's not something in the air. There are people doing the same exact thing that you're doing, and they're not having the same experience. They're having a negative one. I was like, it's you. It's you changing your point of attraction, changing your mindset, and viewing life a little bit different, a little bit more positively, or whatever it is you're shifting. And the world can see that. The world can experience it through you, and they want access to that light, right? So you got to know when you're giving that light out, it's going to come right back to you, and it's going to change the way that you make decisions. So instead of running that red light because you're like, oh, I'm so tired of being in this traffic, you may slow down at the yellow and then avoid a huge accident. We already know this is kind of basic, but it's still a huge part of it. And that trajectory of that accident and what it can do in your life and the domino effect can completely change where you're headed. When we actively change our trajectory, there are always the remnants of a previous timeline left behind, and it's usually nestled in our subconscious mind. So that's what I've been thinking about lately. So many things in my life have completely ended. I was in a toxic environment for work for a minute, and I was trying to accomplish something, which I did. And but the remnants of what was happening in that environment kind of stuck with me for a little bit after leaving it. I was in a toxic, connection for a minute. I wouldn't say toxic fully, but I mean, it wasn't up to par. And some of the things that went on in there that I felt like were kind of like usury or kind of ugly or kind of hatery, was kind of hanging in my head. I'm just like, how do people approach other people with agendas for their lives? Like, I never look at other people and say, this person's going to play this role in my life. This person's going to be this. I don't get that level of manipulation. And so that hung in my head for a minute, because I'm just like, man, you're not supposed to see other people as prey. Like, that is the worst. To me, that's the worst attitude you can have. So nonetheless, those things were hanging, and I was kind of talking about it too much, right? I was even thinking about things that they've left my timeline at least 20 years ago. At least about 15 years ago, I'll say. That timeline has shifted. And still, I was harping on the aspects of it that I didn't like and what I didn't, because someone kept bringing up information about it. And I was like, no. And when I woke up the other morning, something was deep in my subconscious. And I had gone to sleep with the singing bowl meditation playing. And when I woke up in the morning, it was still playing. So I want to say that those things are truly powerful, like tuning you into a new vibration, a new connection, a new point of attraction, even while you're sleeping. I think especially while you're sleeping, because when you're sleeping, you can't really fight the things that are happening. And this person was bringing this thing up, and so I was going in. I started talking about it, and that was wrong, whatever. And then they broke in the middle of the conversation and was just like, you know what? I'm feeling really existential. Like, what are we even talking about with this right here? Like, isn't this like not something that we should be? And so there's nothing worse for a person who who feels awakened in a lot of ways to be caught off guard and to be like caught slipping with some negative energy and creating a negative conversation. And you're like, they're right. And it's like, it leaves you feeling kind of like empty, like, man, I got to get back on track because I'm better than this. I know that I don't have to live in this space. This stuff has ended a long time ago. Why am I continuously rehashing it, right? So when I woke up that morning, the thought process that I had was, without me even thinking any deeper than just waking up, was, you're on a new timeline. And that's where that meditation came from. It's like, you're on a new timeline. You have shifted your trajectory. You are headed into a place that you could not even see the abundance that's coming to yourself. You have left behind remnants of the old timeline. And it's like that was just rolling in my head, right? And I think about how many times that we sit in the mindset of the old timeline, even when our actions, our decisions, and our outcomes have put us in a new place, and we're still talking about those things and ideas or those backgrounds that didn't work for us. They're no longer necessary. It's no longer existent in your current space. It's not even real anymore for you. It's like it taught you a lesson. It brought you to where you were. It probably gave you the level of contrast you needed to make better decisions related to many things. And because you did that, now you're on this new trajectory. Now you're experiencing this peaceful, quiet, like, look at this. That's the level of peace that I live with on a regular basis, every day, all day. The most you'll hear is my daughters gaming and with each other in different rooms, yelling, because, somebody's going to shoot them. They've been gaming together for a long time. You'll hear this noise, right? You'll hear that. But most of the time, that's what you hear. And the reason why is because I shifted my trajectory. I made decisions that took me out of environments that were chaotic, that took me away from people that were chaotic or that were trying to use me or manipulate me, that took me out of places that were not going to serve my greatest good, that washed away anxiety that I dealt with on a regular basis for a really long time. And so that is no coincidence that I'm sitting here in this peace. You know how many people would die for that kind of peace, just to be able to be free and just exist, right? And so we just have to remember, none of the stuff that we're talking about is actually happening. Like, none of these people, this manipulative energy is sitting in my space. This toxic workplace is no longer a part of my life. I don't even log in to a computer that is belonging to a toxic environment, right? You know, I don't have any of the negative money scarcity mindset energy that I was having when I was around certain environments in the past. Like, none of that is happening right now. And what happens is it blinds us to experiencing what's going on in front of us right now. Right now is peaceful. It's beautiful, right? Right now it's lovely, you know? And I can only say my biggest complaint today was I was walking around and like disinfecting the couch and all, because my daughter invited a friend over who was sick. And I'm like, don't invite sick people over. I don't get sick, but don't invite people over that's going to be putting germs in the house. But anyways, I was like, let me disinfect this couch. I haven't done it in a while anyway. But I've been making my videos in my bedroom because my daughters have been home from break. And I was like, I'm tired of making videos in the bedroom. I want to go downstairs, but I don't want like if they walk around or move through the kitchen or do things to like, you know, interact with the background or whatever. But I was like, is that your biggest complaint you have today? That, you know, you got to sit in the solitude of your peaceful bedroom and make a video? You know, you are on a new timeline. You shifted yourself into a new trajectory. And every decision, every moment, every time we decide to take that higher road, every time we make the better decision, every time we wake up and say, today I'm going to take this walk instead of, you know, eating these biscuits and, you know, hash browns or whatever for breakfast. Not that anything's wrong with that. I like biscuits and hash browns, but you know what I mean. You know, I'm going to do these things and make this decision instead. Every time we do that, we're shifting the trajectory. And I don't think there's any trajectory that's gone so bad. I mean, there can be sometimes, I guess, because I'm not the creator and I can't have the final say. But there's always some room to make the experience a little bit better, right? And when we're truly ready to embrace the new timeline and leave the old one behind, we have to be deliberate. It doesn't happen on its own. It's like there's, you know, what is it called? Inertia. It's happening anyway. And so like whatever direction or, you know, what is that thing? I'm going to say it wrong because it's from physics and I haven't taken that in so long. An object in motion remains in motion unless it's acted upon by another object or something like that. And it means that you're going to remain in motion and doing exactly what you've been creating in your life until you make a deliberate intentional change to wake up every day with the prayers, wake up every day with the meditation, to wake up every day and decide not to talk about that old relationship and decide not to talk about that, you know, that ex-wife or that ex-husband who, you know, are impacting, whose decisions impact you today, you know, to wake up and not make those things a priority because it's not happening today. It happened, you learn lessons from it, and you can move on. And we have to practice our cleansing meditations because for me, that's a big deal. And like I said, that singing bowl meditation, I've been listening to that for weeks, but I don't necessarily do it consistently, but now I will because it's wonderful. I was listening to it the other night and it was like cleansing my brain. Every time the audio, the sound went in and out, it's like my whole entire brain was being massaged into a new direction. It's like I couldn't even force myself to think about old timeline related things. It wasn't even real in my space anymore. And this goes the same for like dragging people into it, right? I had this old friend I used to hang with, and our daughters were friends too. But we wound up actually, you know, like the British people would say, getting on pretty good. We wound up getting along pretty decently. And I wound up, you know, taking a trip with her. We took the kids on vacation and stuff like that. And so we did a lot of hanging out together at one time. And even like through, when we had the big snow thing and all the electricity was out when I was living in Dallas a while ago, she stayed with me for like the whole entire week and stuff. But it's so funny. I was thinking about it because my daughter still talks to her daughter every now and then. And I was like, I wonder what she's doing. For some reason, I haven't felt the need to reach out. So I reached out anyway because I was just like, well, why not? Whatever. And she replied once and she was like, oh, hi. She was like, are you still in Houston? I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh. And that was it. I never heard from her again. And so this was a prime example that it's not always bad. Sometimes you're just not in the same space anymore, and you can't even reach back and pull people from previous timelines. Like they're not even available to come. You know what I mean? We have to be okay with letting that stuff go. And these tangible emotional connections that we have to these old things and these old timelines, they're truly slowing us down. They're like walking through something in slow motion, like you're trying to head to the new life, the new destiny, the new place, or the new thing that you're trying to create, but you're being slowed down and dragged down by all this emotion and these attachments you still have to these other timelines. It's like little tethers. And the more that you stop talking about it, or stop thinking about it, or stop even ruminating on it, those little tethers begin to pop. And you begin to move faster and move more gracefully towards those trajectories, towards those outcomes that you truly want to experience now. And then the last thing I have to say on this is that we have to become more dedicated to our new path while showing gratitude and leaving the old path behind. So we have to be more dedicated to where we're headed than being dedicated to feeling negative about the people or the places or the things that created these, negative experiences in our lives. And it's about being accountable for your role in what you were doing. It's like, hey, I was a part of that. I was a part of what didn't work out. I played the role in it. I might have been ignorant. I might have not had an agenda. I might have not even been manipulative, but there was an aspect of me that was okay with what was happening at that particular time. And so we have to be okay with that. And then at the same time, being grateful for it, feeling blessed that we've experienced it and we got away from it. That's a huge one, right? And then feeling more dedicated to the new path than what we are of rehashing the old path, right? Anyway, I really enjoyed this one because this is something that's really been sitting with me for a minute, because I'm like, hey man, you are in a different zone. You don't have to think about that stuff. You don't have to even rehash it. You don't even have to have a conversation about it, right? And that is a beautiful space to be, because not everybody can do that. Not all the time can we say that we've moved beyond something and that we're in a new place, we're in a new environment, we're in a new, a new path. And we got to be grateful for that old stuff and just be happy and keep creating those moments, those minutes and those hours to where everything that you're doing is working towards the new path and the new motivations, the new inspirations, and what you want to see more of in your life, right? Anyway, leave those old timelines behind. You did it. It's done. Be the best version of yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.